I'm continually learning, and I'm learning about fair value gaps, ICT concept where the candles create a gap between the first and third candle. And on the 15-minute chart, if I would have matched up, I just want to make a note here. If I would have matched up the 15-minute chart and the 5-minute chart, I would have had something. Because as soon as I saw on the 15-minute chart here that price had come back to a fair value gap, I immediately jumped in it. And what I didn't do is match that up to a lower time chart because it kept going and it stopped me out. I didn't want to, stay in it if it was going against me. That's the 15-minute chart. If I come to the 5-minute chart, here is the same exact area. See, I got in long up here, and because it touched it, and I got stopped out under the pivot right down here. What it wanted to do was go down to the 5-minute chart where there's a 5-minute gap on this thing. Hopefully I can get over there. If not, that's fine. But there is a 5-minute gap over there. And here's the gap right here. All right, a gap between the top candle and the third candle underneath. There's a gap. All right. And if I would have saw that and matched them up, my trade would have been pretty simple. I would have probably just bought as very low as I can in this area and with a very tight stop loss. And I know that there's probably better entries than that, and people got their systems better than me, and I get it. But I'm looking for as small a stop loss as I possibly can. And if it fails, then I save, a lot. And it looks like this is holding up, at least for a quick trade. A 1-to-1 trade is all I was looking for. If I got in a little higher, if I got in a little lower, if I took my chance and scalped these pintails, and took a close as soon as it went back up, pintail, 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 right? Use these pintails as my stop loss right underneath. Get in on the green when it turns green and let it ride up. Okay, so there's 2-to-1 on that. I'll have to learn how to enter into these kinds of trades according to how they do it, maybe. But the point is, I'm trying to learn how to incorporate fair value gaps into my trading arsenal. And it's not about trading exactly like someone else. What it is about learning concepts that can build and add to your strength of trading and concept and discernment and perception of price action. All right. So we have to learn how price action moves, where it moves, how it moves, where it reacts, why does it react in that area, the way it reacts, where is it going, why is it going there. And so this fair value gap thing is adding to my understanding. All right, so that's all I can really hope for at this point. I don't want to exactly trade like somebody else, because we have to all find our own edge. And so that's what I'm trying to do. And I think that, I'm understanding this just by observing this on the very first day. Now, it may fail and come back down and have set up something else. That's fine. But from what I can tell, just on this first observation, there is something to this, and I want to keep observing it and learning more and more about the fair value gap on multiple time chart situations here. So let's keep doing it the rest of the day, learning, and learning. Okay, I'm going to try to make myself wait for a perfect setup. And it still may not work even if it's perfect, but I have seen some fair value gaps that I've learned from ICT here. And I want price to pull back into that before I take the trade, preferably the one down here. So that's at what they're calling a discount, 50% of this move. It's going to have to break this trend line. It's going to have to test this 20 moving average, but it's been doing that. I'm going to try to get it to come down this second one here or somewhere in this area to see if I can take the trade. Now, it's already come into this first one, but it's lunchtime, and it's going to be lunchtime even if it comes down here. So either I'm going to wait for it to come into this range, take the trade for the long, or not. So I am going to wait for it to come down to the middle one. This one's not enough. Lunchtime's too slow. It's already, you can tell it's looking slower. So if it does come down here, I will be glad to take a trade. In fact, I'll put my order in down
Order
here,
submitted.
down here in this range just to see, and we'll go from there. I must say there's something quite rewarding and satisfying to waiting, even if it goes against me and goes up and takes off without me. There's something very nice about having this kind of mindset, discipline, whatever you want to call it. And yes, it can go up without me, but I've got my reasons for wanting to take that trade. And if it doesn't do it perfectly, I think that's the best way to trade. Make the trade develop perfectly, as perfect as you can. All right, it looks like it might hit my my entry level. It's right on the tick. If it ticks me in, that'll be
Order
great.
filled.
Okay, it ticked me in right there. My stop's going to be underneath this pivot, so I can move that up a little bit. You can see how when you make it come right to your level, there's a chance of going profitable faster. But then again, it could fail, and if it does, that's fine, but I made it come to me. All right, and that's quite all right. There's a gap down here I didn't notice, and a fair value gap way down here. So this thing could definitely drop lower and try to come down to other levels that it's trying to reach. That's an interesting level right there that it's probably trying to reach. And maybe I shouldn't have my stop right at this level, but it's higher lows here, and if it's going to keep going up, it should make a higher low, so it shouldn't come down to this pivot. We'll see. Target is going to be above, keep going up there. All right, since it bounced off this area here, this fair value gap area, I'm going to take my stop and move it right underneath that. All right, because if it's going to hold here, this is where it's going to hold. If it's going to come and play around and test around, then I don't really want to be in the trade anymore. So I'll give it, it did bounce on that area, and sometimes it'll bounce on that area just to validate there was something to that area, but then keep crashing down, and I don't want that either. So either it's going to bounce and go up, or it's going to bounce and come down, and if it doesn't go up, I want to be out of it before it comes down too far. So there you go. It bounced on that area. If it fails, see, it went right up into, well, it went right up into another area so it's ping-ponging in between two areas, and I don't want to be in that trade sideways lunchtime activity. So it went right up into this fair value gap, and if it rejects off that and comes back down, that's a possibility. So now it's in between two fair value at lunchtime. So, I don't necessarily want to remain in this trade. In fact, I could close this out right now for something. Let's close it out. It almost ticked me out right there.
Order filled.
I just broke even on the trade because it did hit an upper fair value gap. It's lunchtime. Right there's where I entered. Right there's where I got out. So let's see what happens here just to validate whether I should have got out of that or not. Am I reading it right, or did I just get nervous? All right, it would have stopped me out for more because I moved my stop underneath this pivot as soon as it was supported by this area. Noticed it hit an upper one, and it's rolling this way after a huge move up. As you can see on the left side, gigantic move up. And it's probably time for a correction. So it does, this was a last minute trade. The reaction areas are working, and it would have stopped me out for the ultimate stop out right here, which is where I first have my stop loss. So let's see if it pulls down actually into this gap area down here where it gapped. This is a fair value as well. And this is the fair value that it supported. It could actually just hold right here. This is if I didn't take this trade already up here, this would have been an interesting possible look at the situation, but it looks like it's breaking it. If it comes up and tests it and rolls around, it might be an area to short, but I'm looking to find some support. We need to find some support on multiple time charts and look for a possible long. All right, we could take a short on the left side, 2000 tick chart. If it comes up into this FVG area right here, it's the same corresponding areas as this right here. There's actually two fair value gaps combined right there. Now, if price were to come up into this area here and roll down, that would be an interesting short. We're looking at two different strategies that could both work. Just one has to go before the other, and that is shorting for a small correction in an otherwise bullish market. The strong move up right here obviously is bullish on all time charts going up. The correction levels put us in the Fibonacci's and the FVG areas where price could definitely be attracted to temporarily, even if it's going to keep going up. So shorting that to the downside is a consideration. And see, it almost went up to the tick to test that FVG right there. And I wanted to be able to short that down to the next level, either Fibonacci correction or the next bullish FVG area. And this is exactly what I'm talking about doing right here, shorting that. But it's also could look like a bullish trendline break at a Fibonacci level. Is 23% enough of a correction? No, I don't think so. But I would think that it's going to come down to 50%, 38%, something like that. 38% would put it right in this FVG area right here. 38%. There it is on the higher volume chart. And I think it's likely that it will. Now, if it doesn't, and it's just continuously bullish and it's only going to correct 23%, then it's going to create a trend line break, test the trend line break at that Fibonacci level. It did react. It came down a little bit at the FVG area. And sometimes when you're expecting a big reaction, it's a little reaction. Here's an area where it tested the FVG to the upside. Right here, fair value gap. But it could be rolling off of that down to the next support level, down to the next Fibonacci support level. All right, trend line breaks don't always work. Retests can grind lower and lower. And so which way does it want to go? There's an M pattern at the top. It's lunchtime. It could just chop around here all day, really. Who knows? So it's good to keep analysis very keen on this. Watch price action and learn how it reacts to different structures and levels, and put that in memory, because these patterns repeat themselves over and over. All right, I'm going to practice taking a short here, and it could be the wrong thing to do. It's lunchtime. You can see that it tested this fair value gap with a pin. It's closing under the 220. It could go down to the 50% down. Here's what I'm counting on. But it's going to have to go past this fair value gap here to do that. There's a bigger fair value gap down here, or in the 76 area. I don't know if it's going to go down that low, to be honest with you. I don't even know if it's going to go down the low here. But on the 1000 tick chart, I'm hoping that it comes down at least 38% correction of that big move up. You know, I waited for it to slowly roll here, and I hope that it at least goes down to this fair value gap. I got it at the bottom part of it. Let's see, as it continues to tick down, I'm going to bring my stop lower and lower, and hopefully it'll reach that target. If it reaches that target, then I will break even. Let's see how it goes here. Like even right now, I feel like bringing it to at least that candle right there. So let's see if it'll go down all the way. I don't know. It'd be great if it did. Now, I'm just going to keep my stop, you know, at the original spot here. Sometimes I bring my stop way too close. See, it would have stopped me out already. Now, I'm trying to short a correction here, but you can't really stay in corrections very long. I need a 1, 2, 3 pullback. An ABC pullback, so it's still got a little bit more to go on the C part. Hopefully it will come down here. I'm not asking for the world here. I'm just asking for it to come down to 38% correction. Let's see what happens. It stopped me out. Like I said, trading at lunchtime, shorting a bull market is not the smart thing to do. So where did it go? Right back up into that fair value area. Same place I thought it was rolling, right here. It just went deeper into it. You can see over here on this, and that's a mean candle too. That's a mean reversal candle right there. It did not go down as far as I thought. Went down, took out the stops, and reversed immediately. So that could just been a, you know, playing around with the stop sweeps there. And like it could be like it's lunchtime, so it can come up here, take the stops out, go down here, take the stops out, go up here, take the stops out, back and forth. That's why trading at lunchtime is not a good idea. So the whole trading at this time was not a good idea for me.